What's going on, sports fans? JD here at JD Sports Talk, and today I have a very special guest with us, draft expert Stephen Fox, aka Foxy the GOAT. Foxy, how are you today?
I'm doing great, JD. It's an honor to be with you and all excited about talking draft with you.
And thank you very much. I'm excited to have you. And today we'll be going through some rapid fire questions. We are going to cover who may be a New York Knick and the mock draft. We're going to go over Stephen Fox's mock draft, and we're going to cover it all today as this is the final mock. Before we start, Foxy, would you like to do us a favor? Show them the binder.
Yeah, hold on. Here you go.
Look at that, fellas.
I have like a little over 60 different profiles for the different players. I'm a nerd and I'm proud of it. God bless my dad. Sat down from at a young age and been doing this for years, not only for basketball, but for football too. I'm a draft junkie, but I have all my notes already and everything up here. So let's rock and roll.
Yes, and that's why I have a lot of respect for Foxy. Extremely hard working individual, strong work ethic, and I have a lot of respect for his takes and his analysis, and that's why I'm excited to have him here. So let's get right to it. We're gonna start with some rapid fire. Foxy, in this draft, in 5 years, who do you have as the best player in this draft?
Jalen Green. He's
Whoa! Wow.
a-
Okay.
absolutely unbelievable athleticism, explosion in the open court, just this shiftiness. Um, I predict in 3 to 5 years he'll be averaging 25 points per game, and every kid, not only in America, I think the world will have a poster of him on their wall.
Okay. And real quick, since you said Jalen Green, I know many would say, why not Cade Cunningham? Is there a little difference that you think will have Jalen Green just a notch over him?
I think the part about electric, if you watch Cade, Cade's going to be great. He's going to be an all-star for a long time, a decade or so. He's magnificent, but he's a smooth, even keel dude. The explosive, but he's not explosive. He uses his height, 6'9", 6'8", 6'9", 7-foot wingspan, his physicality to get to his spots, and his savvy. He's very smart. Jalen Green is explosive.
Oh,
So it's that element of it that I think everybody's just gonna fall in love with this kid.
awesome, awesome. And who do you have as the best shooter in this draft?
Corey Kispert is probably the best shooter, but there's a lot of guys right up there with them. Nobody talks about Jared Butler. Jared Butler is a phenomenal shooter. But you have Moses Moody, you have Joe Wieskamp, you have a lot of really good shooters.
Okay. Who's the most athletic player in this draft?
That's a crazy question because there's a few guys that are athletic, but I don't know how long that's going to help them. You have guys like Keon Johnson, who has like a 48-inch vertical. He's unbelievably athletic. And you have guys like Kai Jones, who's probably the best athlete. He ran track in the Bahamas, but does that translate into being a basketball player? That's what we'll find out in the next 2 to 3 years. But then again, as I hate to keep repeating myself, Jalen Green, his athleticism is translating into, I think it'll translate to production much quicker.
Awesome, awesome. And who do you have as the player with the highest bust potential?
Jonathan Kuminga. I just wish that kid went to college instead of going to the G League. Prototype size, 6'8", 6'9", athleticism. Doesn't have bad shooting for him, but it just didn't translate in the G League. It shot about 23, 24% from three, 60-odd% from the line. Can't make his own shot. He doesn't really have a feel for the game. So if those things don't come together, I see probably a big bust potential there.
Okay. And lastly, we're going to ask you, who is, in your estimation, the highest, the big high risk, high reward player in terms of a player that somebody may pick high or may reach? It could even be a second round player. Who's a player that you have that could be a high risk, high reward?
There's a couple. One is Zaire Williams, prototype size, but he's about that thin. So it's going to take a couple of years for him to get stronger, and also from a consistency standpoint. There's a couple of players, him, Kai Jones. You see flashes that open your eyes, and you're like, wow. But they just don't put it together for a game or multiple games or for a season. So, but if they do, Zaire Williams is prototype, a 3-and-D. He could be something special, but he could also be something bad.
Oh man. Yeah, and he's a CEA client, and there's some connection there to the Knicks. He recently worked out for the Knicks, so let's see what happens there. It'll be very, very interesting. So thank you for having this rapid fire segment with me.
Sure.
Let's get right to it. And before we get to the mock, real quick, if you could just give me your overall thoughts on this draft. Many people have said this is a deep draft, a talented draft. Some say maybe it's an overrated draft. In your estimation, based on your analysis and what you look for when you get, you dig deep into these draft prospects, how would you categorize this draft under your analysis?
Incredible, meaning the talent's there. The first four guys, Cunningham, Green, Mobley, and Suggs, I could see on the All-Star team for a decade. These are sincere. A lot of drafts you see one guy or two guys, but this is deep. And then there's a few guys after that have some holes in their game, but if they work on those flaws, they could be something super. So I think this is a strong draft, and the hard part of it is, there's really not a difference from 21 to like 32. So the Knicks have the 32nd draft choice and pick, and they're going to get a first round talent with that pick if they keep it.
Wow. The moment that everyone's been waiting for. Let's get right into this mock draft, and we'll touch on some bullet points so we can get right into what the Knicks may do, some other possibilities that could be available in addition to who you have them picking. So as you guys see in front of you, we're gonna first go through 1 through 11, and some of these guys are guys that some of us have already seen, being picked at. For example, Cade at number 1. Jalen Green made a late push to 2. I think one of the notables when I see 1 through 11 here, Foxy, is Scotty Barnes over Kuminga. What were you thinking there with Scotty Barnes? Jonathan Kuminga looked like he dipped a little bit late here.
Yeah, Scotty Barnes is the best defender in this draft. In college, 1 through 4, but unbelievable lateral quickness. Just meaning he's going to be an unbelievable defender, but he's also a great facilitator. So part of him is Dennis Rodman, that he's able to be flexible and work, be versatile and cover multiple positions. And then on the offensive side, being versatile as a facilitator, very Draymond Green-like. He's probably top 5 passer. Touch, vision. The only issue with Scotty is, like I said, the good part is he's Dennis Rodman on the defense, and on the facilitation he's Draymond Green, but he's Elfrid Payton on the shooting. He's literally can't shoot and has no touch. But when you have the facilitation and defense that he'll bring, I think the other things, he's also supposed to be a super kid. So I think he'll work on that, but he'll have a lot to, even if the shooting doesn't come around, he'll, with that defense and facilitation, I think he'll have a nice NBA career.
Nice. And I think the next thing we see here that's notable, I know you will want to say a few words about Josh Giddey at 10 with the trade with the Pelicans. I know you have him at 10, but I don't think that you believe that this may warrant, he warrants a 10th selection.
God bless you. We both of us been watching and listening to all the different rumors. And this kid, Josh Giddey, is going up and up, and you're hearing rumors from different teams. And I went back actually today and watched film, and without question, great size, 6'8", great vision, great passer, has a feel for the game. I think he's going to absolutely, be a viable point guard in this league, but he's old school in terms of pass first, shoot second. And the reason why is he can't shoot. And the second part is he's not athletic. I think he's going to have major issues. I just see defenses sagging off him and making him shoot. and him going to the hole, the athleticism, the size, the length of the. I think he's going to have issues. But I went back today and looked, and I'm shocked that he's teams are looking at him that high.
Mm. Let's see what happens, man. It's going to be very interesting to see. You and I discussed off camera today. There's some mocks now has him even going 7th to Golden State. So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. As we go now to the second part of the mock draft, picks 12 to 22 for Stephen Fox here. And, as I look at it here, you guys obviously see, I think the first thing that catches my eye, Foxy, is Trey Murphy at 17. This is a guy that has been mentioned a lot with the Knicks under this mock. Knicks fans may be disappointed to see Trey Murphy go up, before 19, which illustrates that the Knicks may have to trade up to get a Trey Murphy. What's your analysis of Trey Murphy, the prospect?
Watched a lot of film on Trey. First of all, he's a sniper, 50, 40, 90 club. So that's the gold standard in shooting. Great cutter. Prototype size, 6'8", 6'9", over a 7-foot wingspan. He has bounce, but the problem is he's about that thin again. And the NBA is brutal to whether on defense being able to hold spots or on offense or being able to drive. We saw that with IQ, with that lack of strength, what happens. So I think, and also he played, the team that he played for had a really slow pace offense. I think he may need a little time adjusting to the speed. But I see him as I don't really see him as ever being an all-star, but I see him maybe being a better Mikal Bridges.
And Knicks fans know about Mikal Bridges, as we are still trying to recover from passing him on during that draft.
But if you look at the finals with him, he didn't really jump off the page. Obviously they lost to the Bucks, but it wasn't, he didn't do anything that like you're like, wow, man. There was a lot of parts he looked invisible, actually.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And sometimes you run across that with players, as you mentioned, that are not, shot creators. They become kind of like star role players.
Thank you. That was the one thing. Trey Murphy, you nailed it. He, at this point in his career, he's catch and shoot. He hasn't shown the ability, maybe 1 or 2 dribbles at most, but he hasn't shown the ability to make that, create his own shot. And that's huge in the NBA because things break down. You have to make your shot. And if you're just, catch and shoot, there are a lot of guys that have a living on that. But everyone, sometimes the hype for a player gets a little, he's been overhyped. The kid is great. He's supposed to be a great kid. But if you can't make your shot in this league, or if you're just a strictly catch and shoot, you have great coaching and great players. They feed on your weaknesses.
Excellent, and Foxy. And I think we'll cover, a few of the players here that you have, because even the players that are not mocked to the Knicks here, some of these players are all possibilities. How about Chris Duarte? Give me a quick analysis on him. He's a guy that the Knicks worked out. Looks like the Golden State have heavy interest. You have him going to Golden State, but in the event that he is drafted by the Knicks, what type of player are the Knicks getting?
The most plug and play player in the whole draft. He is a phenomenal shooter. I mean, 3-point, but the thing that's so impressive about him, he's a good catch and shoot. He's good off the dribble. He's a very good off ball defender. So he's older, he's probably the oldest kid in the draft at 24, but to me, that means maturity. And, when I thought about him going to the Golden State, I was thinking about a baby Clay, but if the Knicks get him, the age doesn't deter me at all. The kid can shoot. Beautiful stroke.
Awesome. And hopefully that may cause some concerns, as the Knicks with Obi. I'm sure that's probably there's a lot of pause is how the Knicks fan base is. You get a player and then now it's like, no, we don't want somebody that's 24. So we'll see what happens there. I guess
they didn't mind Patrick Ewing at 23, did they? When he was drafted.
That's very true. Very true. Well, let's get right to it. Number 19, Isaiah Jackson. What was your thinking there, and what type of player would he be for the New York Knicks?
Well, I took a step back, and I actually, when you look at the roster, you have Mitch, and did I say Mitch yet? They really don't have much at the 5. And I love Isaiah Jackson. Isaiah Jackson is an explosive athlete. I mean, his athleticism. Watch the Tennessee Kentucky game this past season. He got the ball to the right. He had 1 foot inside the college 3-point line, fake left, one dribble, reverse jam. Mitch Robinson in his dreams would never have that handle and that agility to do that. He played with BJ Boston, Terrence Clark, may he rest in peace, and the others. Didn't really have an environment to showcase his offensive skills. I saw him, he took only 2 3-point shots this past season and missed them both. But 6'10", over, the 7'2" wingspan, very Nerlens Noel. But he has more bounce and athleticism with that left hand going up. The best shot blocker in this draft, the best rim protector in this draft. Just an animal. You watch him against Kansas, he had 8 blocks in that game. You watch him against JT Thor that people are talking about at Auburn. He massacred him, man. It was like a Tyson first round knockout. He's a really aggressive rebounder. And there's one play that stood out to me. He made a run down on a guy, stole the ball, and he ran down and blocked his shot. And they were down by 15 against Alabama. So I love a kid on my team, or anyone on my team, when you're down by 15 that's showing that type of hustle. So, but just to finish up on Isaiah for the Knicks, he's going to be very Mitch-like, though. He relies so much on his athleticism in this first year or so. You're going to see a lot of 4 fouls in 11 minutes. But God willing, Kenny Payne will be around, the big guy whisperer, and with the techniques and everything. But he has a different physique than Mitch. I think he's going to be able to put on weight, strength, and I look at him being a more offensively talented Clint Capella. I definitely see. Like I said, he's a maniac on rebounds. He wants it. And you want somebody like that who wants that rebound. So I think he's going to be a much better NBA player than he was in college.
Oh, that would be great. And if they draft him, as we know, Mitchell Robinson heading into a team option contract year, so that drafting Isaiah Jackson would be at least insurance. If not, maybe you can build that kind of 48 minutes of real rim protection that they wanted to have this year and kind of got derailed with Mitch getting hurt or Noel getting hurt. I think one of the important things with Tom Thibodeau is he loves a shot and a rim protector every single minute of an NBA game. One of the things that is very attractive to Tom Thibodeau.
Absolutely. And I also think that it's going to say a lot about Mitch, because in practices, besides being an insurance policy, that if Mitch really wants it, we're going to find out, because if he doesn't, this kid's going to take it.
That's excellent. What you have here, I see Sharife Cooper at 20. He's not a Knick under this mock, but he is definitely a polarizing player. I get the sense that if he does become a Knick, Foxy, it's going to be kind of like another Frank situation where you have the fan base is divided. Many people, within the fan base want Cooper. Others say no. What's your analysis on him? Can you put a finger on what type of player he will be, or is this something that we just have to wait and see just because of the different variables?
Great question. I think we're going to have to wait and see because his sample size, he only played 12 games in college. He was, out of all the point guards in this draft, the worst finisher. So for Knicks fans that were aggravated by Elfrid Payton, you're not going to be happy. I happen to be old school. I like a bigger point guard. I like bigger guards. You have some guards in this league, or in the draft. I'll say Davion Mitchell. He's, I think, at the combine around the same size, a little over 6 feet. But he's short. He's not small. Sharife Cooper is small. He's, so besides him not being able to finish, he didn't show he could shoot. He's a good foul shooter, and he gets to the line a whole lot. But the reason I put him with Atlanta actually was because, I could see in that environment him working on his shooting mechanics. But when Atlanta has all these shooters, he has that quickness that allows him to get in the lane, and he can kick it out. And maybe in a year or so, he'll get the work on those shooting mechanics to get better at that. But in the interim, he is one of the best passers in the draft, and he is one of the best, from a vision standpoint. But if you can't shoot in this league, and also biggest thing, everything is about Tibbs and the Knicks. It's about defense. He is a major defensive liability. There's just nothing he's going to be able to do against the size of NBA guards. So if he doesn't line it up on offense, he's going to get lit up on defense.
And it segues into the next pick, and I think when you look at here, Sharife Cooper, Jared Butler, and Tre Mann, I love who you have here at 21, because as you analyze Sharife Cooper, kind of gives me, I think about what the pressure would be like in New York. Obviously, it would also depend on what the Knicks do in free agency. But if Sharife Cooper is a player that is going into the season as one of the main players that will be expected to maybe start from day one or play major minutes from day one, I like the fit in Atlanta. He won't have that pressure. It seems to be kind of an environment, a fit that would be better suited for him to develop without having that pressure. Atlanta probably has a better situation for him to take time and try to develop that jump shot. Whereas maybe here in New York, especially if the Knicks are conservative in free agency, it might be, we might be expecting a lot out of him. And that's why I love who you have here at 21, because to me, he would be a guy that you can plug in from day one and he can play well. What is your analysis of Jared Butler? And just want to say, thankfully, he was cleared. He was medically cleared to play. I know that was a concern earlier on. What's your analysis of Jared Butler here, 21 to the New York Knicks?
I love this kid. I've loved this kid. Like you just said, my biggest hope is that the Knicks medical staff has the same assessment of his heart condition as the NBA staff. But you just nailed it. You have to be a special player to play in Madison Square Garden with the New York fans, the New York media. Did you watch this kid? Nothing was too big in the championship game. He hit big shots all in the tournament. He wasn't. You want somebody who's a dog like that. So to just start when Jared Butler, he's a phenomenal shooter. So all the Knicks fans last year where, Elfrid Payton comes down, kicks it into Randall, defense converges on Randall, he kicks it out to Payton, he takes a 3-pointer, and you hear the Knicks fans collectively sigh like, oh, no. You won't have that with Jared Butler. Shot over 40% from three, and he's done that. He's gotten better. I think he's a 38% for his college career. He's a junior, and he's mature, which is beautiful too. But it wasn't an anomaly. Guys like Davion Mitchell shot 45% this year, but he shot 24% and 33% in his first 2 years. So you're like, was this year an outlier? That wasn't Jared Butler. I think he's going to be a much better playmaker in the NBA than he was because of the way they played at Baylor. Very high IQ. I mean, very, very high IQ, mature decision maker. He has great handles. I think other than Tre Mann, some of the best handles. He's not overly athletic, but he is a tank getting to the hole, and also his handles. He's able to use his physicality and his handles to create separation. So you have that element. And then because, again, about a Tibbs team, he's a dog. He's all conference defense. So he is, he can shoot. He can be a playmaker. He's a high IQ. He's unselfish. He came up in big games, and he plays mean D. I think not only Tibbs is going to love him, but New York fans are going to love Jared Butler.
Oh, you got me excited. He's actually one of the targets that I hope, if the Knicks do in fact stay at 19 or stay at 21, whether they trade one pick or they don't trade any of the picks, man, Jared Butler, I think is as long as the medicals clear, check out well, I think he's a must for the New York Knicks. We're gonna go into picks 23 to 32. This one should be pretty quick here. Real quick though, give me your real quick thoughts on Tre Mann. I know you have him pick right after the Knicks there with the Lakers. He is a potential Knick target, could be a Knick, we don't know. What's your analysis of Tre Mann?
Tre Mann is one of the top 5 shooters in this draft. Logo 3-point range, like I said, sick handles to create separation. The only issues, but beyond that, he's not a playmaker. He didn't demonstrate any vision on the court to be a playmaker. Um, as I said earlier, Sharife Cooper was the number one in the point guards, the worst finisher of point guards. You know who number two was? Tre Mann.
And he's what,
And
6'4"?
great size, 6'4", 6'5".
That's
And
probably more concerning.
yeah, and the third one is his average athleticism. He doesn't have burst and stuff, but he's a sniper. So he's going to have a long career as long as you can shoot the way he can, but he's not a point guard, and I don't see him becoming a point guard. I see him as a Lou Will type of player, instant offense off the bench. But and on the defensive side also, that's why I went with Jared Butler over him. Butler does so many other things, and at this point, Tre Mann only does one thing: he shoots well.
Excellent, excellent. And as we see here, within the last 10-9 picks, number 32, you have the forward from Iowa, Joe Wieskamp. What's your thoughts on him?
I know a lot of people are like, "What, Joe Wieskamp?"
32.
But you know what? It's funny. A year ago, I heard people say, "What, Emmanuel Quickly at 25? That's too early."
Right.
Right. On this list at 28, I have to the 76ers, Quentin Grimes. There wasn't a player in this draft that benefited more from the NBA Combine than Quentin Grimes. But if there is one, it's Joe Wieskamp. Around 6'7" and change, 6'11" wingspan, and an unbelievable athlete. He was fourth in vertical, and in some of the other tests, he was one of the highest. So he's an incredible athlete. Shot 46% from three. So I'm looking at this kid. He's a great shooter. When I first picked up on him, shout out to our friend Jay Boogie. He's been on the Joe Wieskamp bandwagon for a long time, but that's what closer. But that's what makes Jay Boogie. And but the kid can shoot, so I'm looking at him as our homegrown Duncan Robinson, our homegrown Joe Harris without the exorbitant contract.
Absolutely. That's and obviously here 32. We went to 32, though that would officially be a second round pick. Just because we're covering the Knicks, we wanted to see who the Knicks would have. And from these players, I believe if Grimes drop, he's an option, and if maybe Miles McBride drops, he could be another option depending on what goes on at 19 and 21. One last question I have for you, Foxy, is if you could say, what is one player that you're kind of currently down on, but you feel, you know what, that's a player that I'm not too high on, but I wouldn't be surprised if he proves me wrong. I wouldn't be surprised if he becomes a good player. It doesn't have to become a star, but what's a player that you're not as high on as maybe others are, but you wouldn't be surprised if he ends up developing and becoming a decent player in the NBA?
Usman Garuba. Watching the USA-Spain game, sometimes, no offense intended, but sometimes, you hear the kids from Europe and other places and you don't get a chance to see them, and it's hard to assess their talents. The kid is a beast on defense. I haven't gone to the Spurs because of their development. I watched a lot of film on him, and he's real, man. 6'8", over 7 foot wingspan, just bounce. Very high IQ. His basketball instincts. His offense is mechanics need a lot of work, and it's not really much of an offensive game. But he's still better than Scotty Barnes' offensive game. But he is top 4 defenders. So I could see him being like an OG, Anunoby type of player in a couple of years. If he gets I could see him really turning, becoming a good ball player.
Awesome. Excellent answer. He's come on late in my estimation, and he skyrocketed up the ranks. And I just want to thank you, Foxy. It's been, I think, an excellent show. Excellent information. I'm so happy that I was able to have you come through, and I highly appreciate it. And I mean, I can't wait for the draft. I know you fans can't wait. And let's see what happens, man. We're here. We're finally here. My man Foxy just gave you the analysis on many Knicks targets. And let's see what happens. Foxy, any last words?
Nah, go Knicks. I don't think they're going to pick all 4. They have 19, 21, 32, and 58. And I don't think they're going to bring 4 rookies onto this. We'll see whether trading up or trading for, a Sexton or somebody like that. I really think this is going to be the telltale sign of our front office. So last year was the honeymoon. This is really going to tell us whether there's a CAA connection on everyone they select. It's going to be really interesting.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great closing thoughts, because we covered this mock, but we don't know. Will the Knicks draft all these picks? Many say no. The Knicks are pretty quiet. If they make a move, they'll probably make it right on draft night. We'll see. Guys, tell me what you think in the comments section. What is your thoughts? What is your thoughts on some of these prospects? Who do you have the Knicks picking? What are your thoughts on the mock? Give me everything that you want to say on the comments section below. Please subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Let's go Knicks.